Two people can have the exact same job, the exact same salary, and live on the exact same street, and be at completely different levels of financial freedom. One of them checks their bank account before buying groceries. The other hasn't looked at a price tag in a restaurant in 3 years. One of them feels a spike of dread when the phone rings from an unknown number. The other reads emails from their boss with the calm detachment of someone who could walk away tomorrow. Same income, same neighborhood, completely different lives. Because financial freedom was never about how much you earn. It's about a specific sequence of thresholds, 7 of them, that almost nobody explains clearly. Each threshold changes something concrete about your daily existence. What you fear, what you can say no to, how you sleep, who has power over your time. Most people live their entire lives between levels 1 and 2 without ever knowing there's a map. They feel the walls of their financial life, but never see the architecture. Today you're going to see the architecture. 7 levels. From the person who is one flat tire away from a crisis, to the person whose money will outlive their grandchildren. And here's what makes this worth watching to the end. The jump between levels is never about luck, and each level requires a completely different strategy than the one before it. What gets you to level 3 will keep you stuck at level 3 forever if you don't change the playbook. Before we start climbing, if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell. We break down how money actually works, the psychology, the mechanics, the parts nobody teaches in school because the system runs smoother when you don't know them. And drop a like. It takes 1 second and tells us to keep making these. Now, Level 1. Level 1, Survival. You work because you must, and the clock is always running. At Level 1, your financial life fits inside a single question. Can I make it to the next paycheck? You're 27. You earn $3,400 a month after taxes. Your fixed costs, rent, car, insurance, phone, minimum debt payments, food, consume $3,150 of it. The remaining $250 is your entire margin for error in a world that generates errors constantly. A parking ticket, a friend's wedding, a cavity, winter utility bills. Any one of these ordinary events wipes out your margin, and 2 of them in the same month push you backward into the credit card. Here is the defining feature of Level 1, and it's not the lack of money, it's the lack of time. If your income stopped today, your life as currently constructed would begin collapsing within 2 to 3 weeks. Rent is due on the 1st, the car payment on the 9th, the phone on the 15th. You are, in the most literal sense, selling your hours to hold back a countdown that resets every 2 weeks and never stops running. Vacations don't pause it. Illness doesn't pause it. Grief doesn't pause it. The clock runs through everything. This produces a psychological state that researchers who study scarcity have documented extensively. Financial pressure consumes cognitive bandwidth. One well-known study found that acute money stress can occupy so much mental capacity that it measurably impairs decision-making, the equivalent of losing a full night's sleep. You are not bad with money at Level 1. You are making decisions under a cognitive load that people at Level 5 literally cannot remember, even if they once lived it. And this is where the trap closes. Because good financial decisions require exactly the mental bandwidth that financial stress consumes. Comparing insurance rates, meal planning, negotiating a bill, learning about a 401k. All of it takes energy that survival mode has already spent. The system isn't just hard to escape. It actively taxes the faculties you need to escape it. The way out of Level 1 is not inspiration. It's a gap. Any gap. $50 a month between what comes in and what goes out, defended like territory. Because the entire journey to Level 7 begins with one unglamorous act: creating the first permanent space between income and expenses. Level 2. Buffer. The first $2,000 that changes your biochemistry. Level 2 doesn't look like freedom from the outside. It looks like a savings account with $2,000 in it. But something has fundamentally changed, and you feel it before you can articulate it. The category of event that used to be an emergency, the tire, the tooth, the broken laptop, has been demoted. It is now an inconvenience. You pay for it, you wince, you rebuild the buffer over the next couple of months, and life continues without the credit card, without the overdraft, without the $35 fee for being poor at the wrong moment. The math of this level is almost embarrassingly small compared to its impact. Researchers studying financial well-being have found that the difference in reported life satisfaction between people with $0 in savings and people with even 1 month of expenses saved is larger than the difference produced by significant salary increases. Read that again. The first $2,000 saved can do more for your daily experience of life than a $10,000 raise. Because the raise gets absorbed into lifestyle, but the buffer removes a specific, chronic, physical fear. At level 2, you sleep differently. This is not a metaphor. The 3 a.m. jolt, the sudden awareness of an unpaid thing, a due date, a number that doesn't add up, quiets down. Your body has been running threat detection software in the background for years, and for the first time, the software finds nothing urgent to report. You're 30 now. The buffer took 14 months to build. There were setbacks. It dropped to $400 twice, but the direction held. And here's what level 2 teaches you that no book can. Consistency is a skill, not a trait. You are not a saver or a spender. You are a person who either has or hasn't yet built the machinery of automatic transfers, separate accounts, and small defended gaps. Machinery beats willpower every single time, because willpower runs out, and machinery doesn't. The danger of level 2 is comfort. The panic is gone, and panic, for all its cruelty, was fuel. Most people who reach level 2 stay there for a decade, buffered but stuck, because the next level requires something the first 2 didn't: playing offense. Level 3. Stability. 6 months of your life, pre-purchased. Level 3 has a number, and the number is different for everyone. 6 months of your real expenses, fully funded, sitting in a high-yield account that you never touch. For you, at 33, that number is $24,000. It took 3 years to build after the buffer was done, and what it buys you is a resource that cannot be purchased any other way at any store on earth. Time that belongs to you in advance. Think about what has actually happened here. Every month of your life costs $4,000 to operate. You have pre-purchased 6 of those months. If everything goes wrong tomorrow, the layoff, the injury, the company folding, the industry turning, you do not have a crisis. You have a 6-month project called Figure Out What's Next. Fully funded, with your rent paid and your refrigerator stocked while you work on it. This is the level where your relationship with your employer quietly transforms, and they will never be told, but they will notice. Because fear leaves your voice. You start saying things in meetings you wouldn't have said at level 1. Not reckless things, true things. You push back on the unreasonable deadline. You decline the Saturday work with a calm, "I can't this weekend," and no elaborate excuse. You negotiate the raise by actually being willing to hear no. A hiring manager once described this quality as the single most attractive trait in a candidate. The quiet confidence of someone who wants the job but doesn't need it. Level 3 is where that confidence stops being a performance and becomes a simple statement of fact. You don't need them. Not for 6 months anyway. And 6 months is longer than most standoffs last. There's a strange grief at this level too, one that almost nobody talks about. You look back at your 20s, the jobs you endured, the treatment you accepted, the years you spent afraid, and you realize how much of it was the absence of $24,000. Not talent, not character, a number. People tolerated a decade of misery for the lack of a number that a decade of small transfers would have built. Don't sit in that grief long. Level 4 is where the game changes completely. Level 4. Flexibility. Money starts working while you sleep. Everything up to now has been defense. Level 4 is the first level of offense, and it has a clean definition. Your investments generate enough that money is visibly, meaningfully working alongside you. You're 38. After the emergency fund was finished, every spare dollar started flowing into investments. The 401k up to the match, then a Roth IRA, then a taxable brokerage account holding boring, diversified index funds. The portfolio is now $220,000. And in a decent year, it grows by $15,000 to $20,000 without you lifting a finger. Stop on that number. $15,000 to $20,000. That's $1,500 a month, earned by capital, not labor. There is now a second worker in your household, and it never sleeps, never burns out, never asks for a day off, and gets stronger every year. It's still smaller than you. Your job earns far more than your portfolio does. But the trajectory is set, and the trajectory only points one direction if you don't interrupt it. Level 4 changes the kinds of decisions you're allowed to make. This is the level of the sabbatical, the career pivot, the move to another city, the year where one spouse stays home with the kids, the pay cut you accept on purpose because the new field has a higher ceiling. These choices, which sound like fantasy at level 1 and recklessness at level 2, become spreadsheet problems at level 4. You can literally model them. If I earn 30% less for 2 years, the portfolio keeps compounding, the timeline shifts by 18 months, and the answer is yes, we can afford this. Freedom, it turns out, arrives in exactly this form first. Not as a beach, but as a wider menu. The psychological shift at level 4 is the strangest one yet. Money stops being about money. The balance isn't groceries or rent anymore. Those were secured levels ago. The balance is now stored, compressed, future time. Every $4,000 in the account is 1 month of your life that you will not have to sell to anyone. At $220,000, you're holding roughly 4.5 years of your own life in reserve. You are no longer saving money. You are buying yourself back. In installments. Level 5. Independence. The crossover point. There is a moment, and it is a specific, calculable moment, when your investments generate more than your life costs. The math is brutally simple and worth knowing cold. Take your annual expenses, multiply by 25. That's the portfolio size at which the widely used 4% withdrawal rule says your money can pay for your life indefinitely. Through market crashes, through inflation, through decades, without ever running out. Spend $4,000 a month? $48,000 a year? Your number is $1.2 million. You cross it at 47. And here is the honest, almost anticlimactic truth about the crossover point. Nothing happens. There's no ceremony. The market closed slightly up on a Thursday. You ran the numbers the way you have 100 times, and this time the portfolio was bigger than the requirement. You are now, mathematically, verifiably, a person who never has to work again. You made coffee. You went to work anyway. But everything after that Thursday is different, because work has become a choice, and chosen work is a different substance than required work. Same desk, same meetings, same emails, different chemical experience. The tedious parts become tolerable the way a hobby's tedious parts are tolerable. The office politics become almost entertaining, the way a game is entertaining when you can leave the table whenever you want. Several studies of people who reach financial independence report the same paradox. Many keep working for years, and their job satisfaction goes up after the money stops mattering. Because the resentment was never about the work. It was about the compulsion. Level 5 also delivers the strangest problem of the entire journey, and you need to hear it before you get there. The person who reaches this level was forged by 2 decades of optimizing, deferring, and accumulating, and those instincts do not switch off when the spreadsheet says done. There are 60-year-olds with $3 million who still feel a spike of guilt buying the nicer olive oil. The skill that builds wealth is the opposite of the skill that enjoys it, and almost no one trains the second skill. The final 2 levels are about that second skill. Because past this point, the question is no longer, do I have enough? The question is, what is all of this for? Level 6. Abundance. The price tags disappear. Level 6 doesn't have a universal number, but it has a universal experience. The cost of your actual desires falls permanently below the growth of your assets. You're 54. The portfolio sits around $4 million. In an average year, it grows by $250,000 to $300,000. While your life, even lived generously, costs $120,000. You could double your spending and the wealth would still grow. The gap between what you want and what you can afford, a gap that structured every year of your life since childhood, has not just narrowed, it has inverted. Here's what that actually feels like, in the small moments where life really happens. You're at dinner and you order what you want. Not the second cheapest wine, not the entree that's a strategic compromise, just what you actually want. And the part of your brain that ran cost-benefit analysis on menus for 40 years is silent, because the analysis no longer means anything. Your flight gets canceled, and you buy the last seat on the next one at triple price with a shrug, because the $900 will be regenerated by your portfolio before you land. Your daughter mentions her car is making a noise and you just fix it. Completely. That week. The sentence, "we can't afford it," has exited your vocabulary. Not because you say yes to everything, but because afford stopped being the operative filter. Now the filter is, do we actually want this? And that question, it turns out, is much harder. Because level 6 quietly runs an experiment on you that levels 1 through 5 never could. With money removed as the excuse, you find out what you actually value. Some people discover the luxury spending bores them within 18 months. The watch is just a watch. The third vacation home is a maintenance schedule with a view. What survives the boredom test is almost comically consistent across everyone who reaches this level. Experiences with people they love, work they do for free, health, and generosity. At level 6, you become dangerous to charities and family members in the best possible way. The nephew's tuition, the local food bank's entire seasonal shortfall, the friend's medical bills paid anonymously. Giving at this level isn't a sacrifice. It's the single highest yield purchase available to you, and you know it because you've bought everything else and checked. The trap of level 6 is drift. With no financial constraint and no required schedule, days can dissolve into pleasant formlessness. Every person who navigates this level well ends up rebuilding, voluntarily, the very things they once dreamed of escaping: structure, obligation, difficulty. Chosen difficulty, it turns out, is a luxury good. Level 7. Legacy. Your money outlives your heartbeat. The final level is not a bigger number. It is a change in the subject of the sentence. Through level 6, The sentence was always about you, my security, my freedom, my time, my life. At level 7, you are no longer the subject. The money has grown past any possible version of your own consumption. You could live 3 more lifetimes at full extravagance and not spend it down. And so the question mutates into its final form. What happens to all of this when I'm gone? And what should it do while I'm still here? You're 68. The estate is $12 million and compounding faster than age can spend it. And you've learned that level 7 is, without exaggeration, the hardest level. Because every previous level had a spreadsheet answer, and this one has none. Compound interest is arithmetic. Legacy is philosophy. Consider the problems that now fill the meetings with your estate attorney. Problems that would have sounded like jokes to your 27-year-old self. Give the kids too much too early, and you may amputate the very struggle that built you. There's a reason the phrase, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, exists in nearly every language on Earth. Roughly 70% of family wealth is gone by the 2nd generation, and 90% by the 3rd. Usually not through catastrophe, but through inheritance without preparation. Give them too little, and the withholding becomes its own message, decoded at your funeral. Set up the trust with too many conditions, and you're governing your grandchildren from the grave. Too few, and the fortune becomes a lottery ticket with your name on it. So you do what everyone who handles this level well eventually does. You shift from transferring money to transferring capacity. The grandkids don't get allowances. They get matched earnings, investment accounts they manage with real stakes, and a front row seat to the family's giving decisions. The foundation gets built while you're alive, not as a tax structure, but because you've discovered the actual final luxury. Watching your money fix things you'll never personally benefit from. The scholarship kids you'll never meet. The research grant that pays off in 30 years. The library wing that opens after you close. Late one evening you sit with all 7 levels behind you, and the whole staircase compresses into a single strange truth. At level 1, money was oxygen. Invisible, desperate, every breath counted. At level 7, money is soil. It doesn't feed you anymore. It feeds what you plant in it. And the version of you with $250 of monthly margin and a countdown clock? That person is still in there. You can feel them every time you leave a tip the size of their old grocery budget. You built all of this for them. They just didn't know it yet. 7 levels. And here is the truth that ties them together. Nobody skips. The lottery winners and the sudden inheritors who parachute into level 6 without climbing. The statistics on them are grim, because the levels were never about the money. They were about the person the climb constructs. The machinery of level 2, the offense of level 4, the philosophy of level 7. Each one is built, not bought. Which means the only question that matters is the one that costs nothing to answer. What level are you on right now? And what does the next one require? If this video gave you the map, subscribe and hit the bell. We publish breakdowns like this on the real mechanics of money every week, the version without the course to sell you. Like the video if it earned it, and drop your level in the comments, 1 through 7 honestly. You'll be surprised how many people are standing exactly where you are. See you in the next one.